What's the scariest thing going on in our world right now that not enough people know/talk about? Antibiotic resistance and the overprescribing of them. I don't think this gets talked about nearly enough, and it's already a problem. I remember reading an article recently that said in the future antibiotic-resistant bacteria-related deaths will surpass cancer deaths. Medical student here. I learned in class that by 2050 infectious diseases will surpass cancer as the second leading cause of death in the US. Also, 70% of all antibiotic use in the US is in raising cattle. The problem is that pharmaceutical companies would rather produce a heart medication that you need to buy for the rest of your life than an antibiotic that you take for a relatively short period of time. Superbug STDs and other superbug infections. An incurable gonorrhea is now a thing. Darn Coachella. When Texas flooded during Hurricane Harvey, there were 13 Superfund sites that got hit. A Superfund site is an area where there are hazardous substances or pollutants on a huge scale. A bunch of chemicals got swept away into those flood waters and no one will know the effect for years. Don't forget that they just had a plant explosion in which tons of chemicals leaked into the water system. They said only 3 frogs and 4 fish were affected by it. Recently there have been sharks, fish and other marine life washing up dead on shore in Galveston. Everyone I know from the coast talks about how dead the Gulf is now. Erosion of personal privacy. Right. With the internet, smartphones and social medias, there are so many problems because of this. The companies just spy on us blatantly, everyone knows about this but nothing is done. And because of smartphones and constant online presence, your job can also invade your personal privacy. My manager sometimes messages me at like 10 p.m. or even later, for something work-related. Sure, I am not obligated to reply, but still, I hate seeing that when I'm supposed to be chilling at home far from work. The Argus real-time surveillance system can fly for months at a time and has a camera array that can track every moving object even a few inches small in a 36 square mile radius. It streams 6,000 terabytes of footage a day and all of it is processed real-time for asset and target location on the ground. They're used domestically and internationally. If you live in DC, Maryland, or Northern VA, chances are there's at least one tracking you right now and recording all your movements into a threat assessment database. Here's a video documentary of it flying over Maryland and some of the tech behind it. I now know what I want for Christmas. Man, you are going to have to be so well behaved for Santa to get you an Argus for Christmas. We both know your grades are going to let you down. How about a Furby instead? It's like an Argus but for poopy kids. Kessler Syndrome. The sky above us, space, is getting flooded with orbital debris. Some of the pieces aren't even detectable. So those pieces hit satellites, which turns into more debris which hits more satellites. It could just end with no more GPS, signal, research and more. Planes would also be disrupted along with boats due to their communication system. It would take years to recover from this. Last night I watched the documentary, Dark Money, on Amazon Prime. It focuses on Montana as a microcosm of how corporate interests are attempting to wind back the clock to the days when a company could control government. Basically, they look back at the company town mentality of 100 years ago and the model where wealthy business owners could buy an entire legislature and say, "That's awesome, let's do that." Checks and balances, oversight, journalism, some form of structure that would stave off corrupt practices. They're working towards a paradigm where none of that is active, and democracy is as dead as last year's flowers. Right here in the land of the free. People in America are terrified of government overreach, but think that it's okay to give this kind of power to companies because, if you don't like it, you don't have to use the product. They don't realize that the problem is powerful people in control of the masses, no matter if they call themselves kings, barons, or CEOs. I've definitely noticed a decline in the number of bees and monarch butterflies over the years. I used to see hundreds of both every spring. This year I haven't seen a monarch, and honey bees is less than 20. It's crazy to see such drastic changes in less than a decade. I think the scariest thing is that everyone is talking about things that should terrify us, but we're all too apathetic to care. Not apathetic, your emotional systems developed to operate in groups of humans of 50 to 100 members. We just don't have the ability to intuitively feel every form of danger, even if we know for a fact. A good example of this lack of intuition, for lack of a better term, is people are totally happy getting in their car every day and operate completely normally, yet when they fly, every bump can cause them to grip the seat handle, etc., because we just intuitively know we shouldn't be in the sky. We were never designed for that. But it really is a failure of biology, because car accidents kill approximately 30,000 plus in the US alone every year, while something like 1 out of every million flights crashes or something like that. Driving is way more dangerous, yet no one cares, but that's not a conscious choice, it's just a failure of our intuitions. Edit, Jesus, this got big. I would like to clarify, don't get bogged down in the semantics of the analogy, it's merely to highlight issue of our intuitions and how they can often fail to grasp the true nature of the situation. Also, someone popped my silverginity. I will be thinking about said person as I touch myself tonight. Edit 2, something that helps is not attributing malice to what can often be explained by ignorance, incompetence, and of course a failure of our biological systems. XD. That PR, advertising and marketing have infected our minds so much, virtually all of people's lives are now about perception manipulation. Changing the way you think about things and how other people think about things. Presenting yourself and your life correctly, saying the right words, parroting the right ideas. We are so self-obsessed we think our perception is reality. We are forgetting that what we think and say is nowhere near as important as what we do. The amount of microplastics, medicine and unkillable pathogens in wastewater treatment. Due to the relatively low medicine concentrations, bacteria and viruses are building up resilience against the common antibacteria and antiviral medicine, which will eventually form a superpathogen that requires a totally new production method. Microplastics are very destructive to aquatic life and will do a lot of damage to the marine life. Water in general will be the new oil due to climate change, so that won't be fun either. I'm not sure if it's the scariest for the short term, but the death of reality. By that I mean how almost every person giving us information, news, blogs, etc., is fabricating or obscuring the truth for better profits. They understand anger keeps people interested and coming back, and go to disturbing lengths to push for those narratives. Trying to follow a news story most of the time is jumping from hyperlink to hyperlink between different news sites with no originating source to be found. I've seen a TED Talk where the speaker openly mocked any sort of critical discourse of his topic that went unnoticed or uncaring. I thought Vice was pretty good, but they also started being openly biased and made me question their authenticity. Unbiased journalism is dying, as far as I can see, and it's rarely discussed. Not the scariest, but a lot of the people who helped clean up the BP oil spill from Horizon are suffering long-term medical issues. Their case has been essentially swept under the rug. The collapse of the insect population. Over the past 5 to 10 years, the insect population in our neighborhood has tanked. No more fireflies, no more bees, no more butterflies. And this year was the first year toads didn't come to our swimming pool and have their repopulation. It's terrifying how quickly these changes have taken place. Plastic. It's everywhere. In our waste. In our food. In our bodies. In our drinking water. Obviously we know it's in the sea. Sure, grocery stores are slowly rolling out not using plastic bags, which is awesome. But it's scary how it's taken over everything in our lives. Even in money. We can't stop using it, yet it's building up waste everywhere, and it's causing issues in our bodies with all the micro bits we have consumed. Scientists have had a hard time finding control groups to study because literally every person and animal they've tested has microplastics inside them. Thanks for all the anxiety, everyone. This thread basically says that we'll all be F-ed by 2050. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Have a pleasant day.